Hey guys, in this video I'm going to share some high-level acquisition skills that can help you achieve more success with acquiring off-market properties directly from sellers. I'm Jeremy Beeland. If you don't know who I am, I've grown multiple seven-figure markets from scratch, and since 2017 I have successfully closed over more than 400 off-market deals. I specialize in teaching high-level acquisition skills that empower individuals to achieve remarkable success in acquiring off-market properties directly from sellers. All right. In this video, we talk about what is assigning a contract in real estate. Well, assigning the contract in real estate is basically assigning a purchase and sales agreement with the seller to an end buyer. We do this a lot in wholesaling, or we call it flipping contracts. So I'm going to break it down for you in this video. Hopefully this will really help explain what it is, why it's important to have legal contracts, and how much money can easily be made by just flipping contracts. So, all right, so let's get into what assigning a contract is in real estate. So you have a purchase and sales agreement, or a P&S, purchase and sales. And this purchase and sales agreement is between a buyer and a seller, right? So I, Jeremy, the local house buyer, has found a house in town, and Mr. and Mrs. Seller are facing foreclosure. They need to sell the house in the next 30 to 60 days because they're going to lose it to foreclosure and it's going to go into auction. So they need some help. I have come to them and said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, not only can I help you from not going into foreclosure and losing your house to foreclosure and going to auction, I know you need help to get to the next place. And I know you need some help leaving stuff behind and doing some other things where I can provide great value for you. Here's what I'm going to do, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I'm going to take your property at 123 Main Street, and we're going to put a contract together via a purchase and sales agreement. And that purchase and sales agreement is going to say, we're going to buy your house in the next 30 to 60 days, whatever the time frame is that you need. And we're going to agree to a price of $100,000. That's not how the conversation goes, but for the sake of this video, let's say this is how it goes, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Seller agrees to have a purchase and sales agreement with me, Mr. Jeremy, the house buyer, at 123 Main Street for $100,000. Now, this is a key part of this. You have to make your purchase and sales agreement assignable. Easiest thing to do is just write in it where it says the buyer of the property, Jeremy, the house buyer, and or assigns. That's all you have to do. And that allows me to assign the rights of that purchase and sales agreement to anybody else. Sometimes it's just back to myself under a different LLC name. If I'm keeping the property as a rental, I may want that rental under a different LLC name that I haven't actually started yet, right? So there's a lot of different reasons why you want to have assignable contracts, but really any and every contract that you get doing real estate should be assignable. So you now have a purchase and sales agreement that's assignable to Mr. and Mrs. Seller from Jeremy, the home buyer, for $100,000, right? Now we're going to take what's called an assignment contract. An assignment contract is going to allow me to assign the rights to the purchase sales agreement to somebody else. And in this case, especially if you're wholesaling, is, hey, Mr. Friendly Cash Buyer. Mr. Friendly Cash Buyer would love to buy Mr. and Mrs. Seller's house because he is looking for a property to flip. I don't flip houses. I flip contracts, right? That's what we do here in wholesaling and signing. So what we're going to do is we're going to write an assignment contract between me, Jeremy the home buyer, and Mr. Cash Buyer. And it's going to be for $120,000. And what that does, again, is going to allow him the rights to exercise the contract of the purchase sales agreement. I'm basically, that purchase sales agreement, I'm signing it all to him. He is now has all the rights to actually take that contract and physically close on the property. But because I have an assignment contract with him, he's actually paying me for the rights of that contract. So I sign the contract over to him for a fee called an assignment fee. And when you're in wholesaling, that's how you make your money in this business. So to break it down even further, I have a contract with at 123 Main Street with Mr. and Mrs. Seller. It says it's between the seller and Jeremy, the home buyer, and or assigns. I have that agreement. Now I take an assignment contract and say, hey, Mr. Cash Buyer, I will assign you the rights to this purchase sales agreement so you can exercise that contract, but I want $20,000. So he is going to write an assignment contract that says, I'm paying Jeremy, the home buyer, $120,000. There's an underlying contract, the purchase and sales agreement, for $100,000. The difference is going to me. And that's how we make our money in wholesaling. So he's going to go, and then we send it to the title company and or closing attorney, and it goes to title, and then he takes his cash. He buys the property from Mr. and Mrs. Seller with his money. He owns the property, and I get a check for $20,000. That's what assigning a contract in real estate is. And that's what wholesaling 101 is. So what does that look like in real life, right? So you go out and meet with Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're facing foreclosure, and you talk to them. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to help you from foreclosure. I'm going to need you to vacate the property. You can leave this stuff behind, take the stuff that you want. I'm going to help you coordinate getting out of here and get into your next place. Whatever value you need to bring to help them, to make them want to do business with you, is what you need to do. And then you say to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am going to take this contract. I'm actually going to sell it to a cash buyer. I don't know which cash buyer yet, but I'm going to talk to one of these cash buyers, and they're going to buy it from me. I am still going to make sure that you get, we buy this property for $100,000, so you get some money in your pocket, right? And you'll beat foreclosure. You won't have to worry about the auction. I'm still going to provide all the value I promise you, right? I'm going to let you leave your stuff behind. I'm going to help you get to the next place. Whatever promises we made to help you in exchange for, for that value to help you in this situation, I'm still going to do that. But I'm going to sell the contract to somebody else, and they're going to pay me. You don't have to pay me. They're going to pay me. This is how I make my money. And guess what? They don't care. They don't care. They just want to make sure that you can help them beat foreclosure. And then you're going to go to Mr. Cash Buyer and say, hey, Mr. Cash Buyer, I got a sweet deal for you, but I want $20,000 for it. He's like, I want that house. The numbers work. I'll flip that house. Here's $20,000. I'll buy, and he's going to basically buy the contract for me. And then we send it into closing attorney and or the title company. They do all the work. Those two have to go to the closing. You don't even have to go. And you can even have the money wired to your account, or just a check mailed to you, or go pick up the check, whatever you want. But that's how we make money assigning a contract in real estate. And it's super, super awesome. But one thing that I really, really want to talk about that's really important is when you're dealing with a purchase sales agreement and assignment contracts, whatever market or state that you're in, make sure you work with a local real estate attorney to make sure that they draft up a purchase and sales agreement and an assignment contract that is legal to the state that you're doing those transactions in. A lot of people make the mistake of getting something online from Google or Facebook or some other investor, and those contracts may not even be legal or applicable in your state. And when you're working with real estate, and even though we're off market, it's still highly regulated by a real estate commission to make sure that these people aren't preyed upon, right? Especially people that are in distress. So you need to make sure that you're working with legal contracts to protect them, protect yourself, protect the cash buyer. But you want to make sure that you're working out of a place of honesty and being ethical, right? And professional, right? So you want to make sure that these contracts are valid to your state. Because what will happen outside of you maybe potentially getting fined and in big trouble and maybe not even be allowed to do real estate again if you get caught too many times, messing around with this kind of stuff. But really what's going to happen is you're going to have a really sweet deal someday. And, maybe it gets through. I don't know. You have a wrong contract, you do a few deals, and it goes through. By the grace of God, it does. But all it takes is one person to realize that this isn't a legal contract in the state. This is null and void. This is basically nothing, right? That happens. And what's going to happen is it's going to happen at the worst time. You're going to have this sweet deal, and you're going to get it under contract to 123 Main Street for $100,000, and you're going to sell it to Mr. Cash Buyer for $150,000, right? And you're going to make a $50,000 assignment fee on this deal. You're pumped. You're excited. That's a lot of money, right? You're going to make more money on this transaction than most people make in a calendar year at the W-2s. And then all of a sudden, a week before closing, somebody realizes, whether it's the title company or attorney, whatever, hey, this purchase and sales agreement isn't valid. It's not applicable. This is a different state purchase and sales agreement, and we can't use it here. And then guess what? Mr. Seller is really upset with you and doesn't want to do business with you. And now they're going to go straight to the Mr. Cash Buyer because Mr. Cash Buyer can still perform in a week and you can't because you're not the cash buyer and you're out $50,000. That happens a lot. So make sure that you have legal purchase and sales agreement and assignment contract in the state that you're doing the real estate transactions. It'll cost you a little bit of money, but it'll save you tons of money down the road, I promise. So just do it that way to protect yourself. So that's it for this video. If you found this information valuable, make sure to subscribe for more insightful content like this. And if you're looking to take your off-market acquisitions to the next level, I invite you to check out the link in the description. It's a valuable resource where I share how my coaching program can help you master these skills to achieve exceptional results in your real estate ventures. Feel free to explore it if you're interested in joining me on this journey to achieve REI freedom.